what my life coach calls the spirit of opulence. And I'm going to ask you guys a bunch of questions today. So I hope, even if you're watching this later, that you will, hey CJ, that you will answer those questions that I ask for yourself, because this is an important topic today that's going to determine your future and your success and how your life turns out. So it's important to think about when questions are being asked, that you answer them. Hi, is it Leonsky? Welcome. Because I come here every week, not necessarily even for me, though I enjoy being with you guys. I come to give you guys some powerful lessons of how you can apply this to your life. Hey Gregory, I want you to get the most out of your life, and I want you to live your life to the fullest possible extent in everything that means for you. So it's different for everybody. What would living your best life look like? Hey Pat, hey Jacqueline, and you guys can answer in the comments. Derek is here. You just got the new book. When am I going to be home this week? You want it signed? Do you want it signed by me, or do you want me to bring it home for my dad to sign? He's the main author. Good morning, Donald. So I have a store on Redbubble where I have a lot of my sayings and designs. And this is one of mine that I wrote once in a poem. And I don't know if you can see what it says. What you really need is a swift kick in the seat of your cants. So there was a saying when I grew up, and like when people weren't acting right and their parents wanted to punish them, they would say, you need a swift kick in the seat of your pants, if you would get in trouble. But, as an encouragement coach, what I do with my clients, and hopefully what you guys see me do here on these lives and in my videos, is I'm trying to give you a swift kick in the seat of your cants. Whenever you think, I can't do something, I can't handle it, I'm not able, that's the kind of, hey Ryan, I'm not sure why you got mad faces today, but it's the kind of thinking you need to get rid of. Hey Rodrigo, because you can't have the future, hey Mike, that you've always wanted to have if you're thinking that you can't. So I don't know if you saw the topic for today, but the topic for today is, why aren't you rich? And that's a question for me too. That's a question for all of us, Jesse says, I was told a swift kick. But it sure as heck wasn't in the cans. So that's why I wore this is on my Redbubble store. I think it's redbubble.com. Cat Norland merch? Or no, it's catnorlandmerch.redbubble.com. I think that's where it is. So I've got some of my designs up there that I've made. Saya, I'm doing well. Yes, Rodrigo, I finally worked with Allison Robertson. She is just a lovely woman. I really enjoyed working with her. We even had like a little brief conversation yesterday. Unknown says, you are a brilliant actor in Dhar Mann. Thank you so much. D Gamer says, are you still working for Dhar Mann? Yes, I am. Rodrigo says, tonight is the Oscars. Yeah, I just found that out yesterday. Tyreek says, big fan. Hey Brandy, hey super cool. So the question for today, and the question is why aren't you rich? So type in the comments before I even get started talking about what I might mean by that question. Type in the comments why you aren't rich. I want to find out from you guys, because that's the topic today. Why aren't you rich? Type in why. D Gamer says, cause I'm lazy. Hey cool man. Says you're a big fan, thank you. Het says, are you still working with Dhar Mann? I do still work at the studio. Yep, lots and lots of us Lots of us do, because they haven't shut down. They've still been filming Monday through Friday. Pat says, you mean literally, or is this some religious thing? I mean literally. I mean literally. Why don't you have stacks of cash? I don't either, but that's the topic I want to talk about today. Had got his comment deleted because he was being negative towards Dhar Mann, but I actually want to answer that comment because I think that's a very important thing you said. Because so Het put, before his negative comment got removed, he put that, or she, because Dhar doesn't pay you enough. How many of you think that your status of wealth has anything to do with your employer? How many of you think? Queen of Girls says, I'm not rich because I'm just settling. Magic Tripper says, because I'm 9. That's the best answer yet. Frank says, Cat in the Hat. Okay, D Gamer, this is good. Seriously though, if I'm rich, I would be really worried that I would get greedy and spoiled. Okay, remember that. Remember that. Because that's something to think about too. And Tyreek is 9 too. So our wealth, would you believe me if I told you, has nothing to do with your employer? Somebody else is not responsible for the amount of money you have. Junior says, because I'm 11, right? Yeah, and even 11-year-olds could even like go out and have a lemonade stand, right? There's been some interesting ways 11-year-olds have gone out and made money. And so this is going to be a conversation that gets a lot of people upset or feels like, Brittany says, because I didn't make a tape like Kim Kardashian. Oh my gosh. But this is going to get a lot of people heated. It's going to get a lot of people heated because some people think, well, if you have money, like somebody said, I would be worried, I would be greedy, right? Let's see, Kylie just said, because my mom spends it all on my food. LOL. I'm 13 and I have a YouTube channel, so I make a little money, but I'm not rich. That's cool. Yeah, you can, there's so many ways you can make money nowadays. Did you know Dhar Mann is posting your videos? I saw yesterday that he had shared, I don't know if, I guess there's a way you can share, that you can share them. And so I just found that out and I'm thinking good for him because I want more people to see positive messages rather than negative messages because there's two sides to every coin. So for every person that's had a bad experience there, I think there's at least 10 who's had a good experience. I know because they've all been inboxing me, thanking me for my videos, and then I'm like, let's talk, let me interview you, and they're like, no, I think I'll just enjoy working there but not say anything because I don't want to get flack from the haters. So not everybody is brave enough to say they have a good time working there because there's been some kind of mean people on the internet. I know, I've been experiencing some of it. Some people, because of the people that aren't happy, just believe that it's not possible for anyone to be happy and working there, and it's just not true. It really isn't true. So, okay, let's see. Jacqueline says, I've been having my own business making crepes and pancakes and more. Oh, that's amazing. Pat says he needs to share Devin and Armando's video too. Oh, yeah. I guess maybe they only shared a couple of them. I don't know why. So let's talk about So some of you guys said, oh, because I'm lazy, or because I'm not old enough, or because I'm afraid I would be rich. Um, so that's the question today. So do you know that you have a greater chance of making a difference in the world if you have money? How many of you guys know that? Like, if there's charities that you care about, if you want to help the homeless, if you want to buy books and Bibles for inmates, if you want to feed the hungry, if you want to get clean water drinking wells for people who don't have clean water, if you want to get wheelchairs for people who are crawling on the ground in other countries, how many of you know that takes money? And sometimes people think, because of how rich people are portrayed in the media, that they're just greedy, that all people who have money are greedy. But at least as far as the ones I've met, the rich people I've met and that I know, they're some of the most generous people I've ever met. Now, of course, I haven't met any like drug kingpins or people who have slaves, so I can't, they might be rich. So I haven't met any of the bad guys who are rich. But you guys know that you can be more useful and have greater power to do good in the world if you're not playing it small, if you're not shrinking and diminishing yourself. See, if we do that, if we say, oh, well, I can't be rich because I come from a poor family, like I could say that about myself too, right? My dad only made $2 an hour when he was raising us. And us, the family of four, we lived in a trailer park. So I could easily say, well, because my parents didn't have money and da 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 da, and I worked in a factory, and I've never had a job that paid a lot of money. But it's interesting because I've never considered it my employer's job to be my sole support. Does that make sense? Because God has given us so much wisdom and intellect and ways we can parlay what we do into multiple streams of income. So like the 13-year-old on here has a YouTube channel and is making a little money with that, right? I've started, a couple of years ago, I started coaching clients. I was always giving people advice and helping them, but then I started coaching clients. That's a stream of income. I got a house that was big enough to have extra people. I got a couple renters. That's a source of income. I started writing books. That's a source of income. I started my merch line. That's a source of income. So there's all these, if you feel like you're working at a job that doesn't pay enough, how can you parlay your gifts and talents into other things so that there's multiple streams of income, right? Abstract, yes, I still work at Dhar Mann. So I personally don't believe it's a single person's responsibility to provide for my every need, especially if I'm not a full-time employee there. So if you feel like it's just one person's job to provide everything you need, then that's, in some ways, that's living in a limited, mindset. And if you feel like I can only make this much, then you are also limiting yourself. If you entertain those beliefs, then you're going to be stuck in that. Because how many of you guys know that how you believe affects your behavior? What you think about, you bring about. Have you heard that before? What you think about, you bring about. Sabrina, I don't know about the reporting account. I don't even know what you're talking about, so I'm sorry I can't answer that question. Well, Gregory says, what's the problem with people unhappy with those anti-Dhar Mann actors? They thought Dhar was their full-time job. Yeah, and it's not, because you get emailed if there's a role that's right for you. It's not it's not even a job. It's a project base. I don't know. It's based on a project. So they have a lineup of scripts, and if there's a script that they need a woman who is blonde and looks to be in her 40s, then they'll be like, Katherine, can you work these dates? And I will say yes or no. So it's not a job where you go every day and you punch the time clock. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how the whole acting industry is. If there's a job that's right for you, you will audition for it. Sometimes you're auditioning. That's the beauty of Dhar Mann. We don't even have to audition for all the jobs. You audition once, and then sometimes people, if they're doing smaller roles or extra roles, they'll audition for a bigger role. But here's the thing, when we limit ourselves of what we can do, we're going to stay stuck where we're at. We're going to stay stuck where we're at because there's actually no limit on what God can do. But if you put a lid on it and say, I can only make this much, I can only do this much, then you're not going to go any further than that, right? You're not going to surpass what your limiting beliefs are of yourself. Does that make sense? How many of you are picking up what I'm laying down? Do you have any limiting beliefs that you feel are keeping you stuck where you're at? Do you have limiting beliefs that are causing you not to rise above a certain level, not to make a certain amount? Okay, let me know. We can't put a lid on what God will do through us. We have to allow him to work through us in whatever way that he's going to work through us. And we have to live up to our full potential. Do you guys feel like you're living up to your full potential? Are you right now living up to your full potential? Do you think you're doing? I'm not. I am totally not. I still have limiting beliefs. White Tramp says, Katherine, be spitting facts. Thank you. Queen of Growth says, absolutely. God is working through me right now because I think my marriage is over. I'm so sorry to hear that. Okay, so we have to live up to our full potential, and we can't put a limit and say, well, I'm only worth this much, or I can only expect to get from this one source of income. Sometimes we have to get scrappy. Sometimes we have to think out of the box. Sometimes we have to go, hey, well, if I'm not getting enough here, what can I do here? What can I do here? How can I get more from different sources of income? What has God put in me? You know, because I think God has put some potential in all of you. Oh, Gregory, you're sweet. Gregory says, I have potential to win an Oscar. Woohoo! God has put in so much in all of us that it's really unlimited where we will be, where we will go, and what we'll be able to do if we allow ourselves to be used. Now, how many of you guys have good ideas? You go, oh, it would be so cool if there was this invention. It would be so cool if somebody invented this. Why aren't you inventing it? You know, do you find yourself coming up with a great idea, but then instantly shooting it down? Oh, that'll never work. I'll never be able to get the capital to get that. Oh, no. I used to do that all the time. When I felt God telling me to start writing books, I was like, no, not me. I can't write books. Who would read my books? I'm not a good writer. I barely made it through high school. Blah, 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 blah. So-and-so says I can't write. And you just shoot yourself down automatically. Rebecca says, God seems to take too long on what the heck I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, and I think we have to get quick and spry when we get an idea to act on it immediately. Queen of Growth says, I'm not living my full potential because I allow others to influence myself, support, and my husband is a negative person. Yeah, I just made a video about that yesterday, about when you're around negative people. Anyway, Donald says, I'm not living up to my full potential, and now I know the reason for the cap. Yes, what you really need is a swift kick in the seat of your cants. So what can we do about it? Well, whatever is not of faith, that's our true belief, with what God knows and has programmed us as truth. If we're not living in the truth of God, we're going to live a marginalized life. Rodrigo asks, have you ever worked with Jessica Ruth Bell? Yeah, I think we did one. Yes, I was a teacher. I think it was the emo girl accused of having drugs or something. That was the one we worked on together. So if we're not living in the truth of God, we're going to live in a marginalized way. Sabrina says, I'm scared to get my full potential because there's too much problems that scare me. So we're always going to have problems in life. Even if you become super successful, you're still going to have problems. I've been listening to a lot of memoirs from famous people. They have problems. Man, they have problems. They have worse problems than me. Okay, as a friend always says, get your poop in a group. I say that all the time too. When we're not living according to who we are, and I mean who we are as spiritual beings, then we're not expressing who we really are and the perfection of God. So when we don't live up to the full potential of who we are as a spiritual being, we can't live up to who we are just as a human being in this earth suit put on this earth. So that causes like a separation between us and God. Queen of Girls says, my faith is the only thing keeping me grounded and sane, and having my YouTube channel and mental health awareness is my passion. It's not for money. But isn't it okay to have both? And I see, and I want to point that out because I see people say that all the time. I'm just doing this to help people. I'm not doing this for money. That's cool. That's fine. I remember, a year and a half ago, somebody made some comment like, Katherine's only saying positive messages for the money. And I remember like making a video response to that because I thought, isn't that interesting? That people that just want to put like positive messages out in the world, that somebody will be like, they're just in it for the money. And I thought to myself, well, it's interesting because at the time my channel wasn't even monetized. I'd been putting out positive videos for 4 years and hadn't made a penny, actually losing money each month. I'm actually still, my YouTube channel with over 600 videos, I'm still losing money every month because it costs me more to pay my editors to edit the content than I've even made on the channel. So it's not that easy money that I think a lot of people think it is. I don't know, maybe if you're like 13 and cute, I don't know. At least I haven't found it to be yet. But I don't want to put a limit on God, all right? I don't want to cap what he can do through me. So that's another, right? That's another channel, stream of income. So all these different streams of income, what are some things that God has told you to do? What are some ideas that have popped into your head where you're like, that would be a good idea. What if I could help, even if you're a teenager, what could I help teens learn how to skateboard? Like, what are some of your skill sets that you could help others do and even get paid for it? That's just something to think about. Rebecca says, do your coaching clients get mad when you try to kick them in their cants? Some of them do. Some of them go silent on me. Some of them don't want to say anything. Some of them send me mean, angry texts saying, you push me too hard. I can't handle this. That happens sometimes. But we've got to get rid of our can'ts. We've got to see our unlimited potential and possibility. Because we can do anything we set our mind to. It's that doubt that stops us. It's that feeling that we can't succeed that stops us. So why aren't we as successful as some person? Why aren't we as rich as some person? It has to do with our limiting beliefs and what we believe is possible. You guys know the story of Jim Carrey, the actor. He was broke. He wrote himself a check and he said, within 10 years, I am going to make $1 million for a movie I'm in. Derek says, I too barely made it out of high school. Yeah. He says, I'm going to make $1 million for my acting. And he wrote himself a check and he put $1 million. Was it? No, 10 million. I think it was $10 million. $10 million. And he wrote at the bottom of the check for acting services rendered. And he kept that in his wallet. And Jim Carrey looked at that check every single day. And he was living in his car. Didn't even have an apartment. He was living in his car, eating cans of beans. And someone asked if I'm married. Yes, I am. Het says, you have 2 jobs. I have multiple jobs. I have multiple jobs. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a landlord. I'm a coach. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. And I'm a content creator. I've got a merch store. I've got a lot of jobs. So Jim Carrey wrote himself that check and he looked at it every day. Even when he was sitting in his car on Mulholland Drive, eating cans of beans, he said, I am going to make $10 million for my acting by 10 years. Do you know he had that belief? And even when circumstances around him told him, he could have easily said, what are you talking about? You're never going to make that much money. Nobody wants your talent. You're living in your car. You can't even afford a decent meal at Denny's. You're never going to. He could have listened to that. But his belief said, no, I am going to make $10 million someday. And do you know that 10 years later, which is exactly the time frame that he said, he got $10 million for making, I can't remember which movie it was. It was either Dumb and Dumber or Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. I think it was Dumb and Dumber. He got $10 million for making Dumb and Dumber, the movie. So what beliefs are you telling yourself? Are you judging by your circumstances? Which, if Jim Carrey judged by his circumstances, living in a car eating cans of bean, he would have said, no, you could never make $10 million. But he didn't judge by that. He judged by where he saw himself. So where do you see yourself? Donald says, successful people break through the doubts and don't listen to the doubters, right? So your opinion of yourself, your opinion of you is going to determine your future. Nobody else can determine your future. Not your husband, not your wife, not your boss, not your children. Nobody can determine the success you have or the future you have except you. Now, if you've got people in your life that are speaking negative about you, you've got the choice. Am I going to believe them, or am I going to believe the dreams that God has put in my heart? Am I going to believe my dreams and my capability and that God will open the way? You don't even have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the most talented. You have to be in the right place at the right time, obeying that voice, right? So I just listened to Jessica Simpson's memoir, her audiobook. How many of you guys know who that singer is? So I'm just going to prove a point about how you don't have to have money or brains or to be successful. You don't necessarily have to have something to be a success. You can become a success without it. So, and I'm not saying that she doesn't have brains, but what she was saying in her book, her fiance wanted to go to Wharton School of Business. That's like a very prominent business school, very prominent, and for very smart people. But they had just like really fallen in love and gotten engaged, and she was telling him, you know what? If you want to start a business, you don't have to go to Wharton Business School, which, you know, if you have that in your resume, that would open any door for you. She's saying, you don't have to go that. She's like, my clothing line last year made $750 million and I only have a GED. She didn't even finish high school. She ended up getting a GED later. And her company, just that one year, made $750 million, her clothing company. So there are avenues you can go down. There are doors, you know, and this kind of goes to the point I made like a month ago when I put that video out about all actors, singers, that they have side hustles, right? Jessica Simpson has her clothing line. Danny Trejo has restaurants. All these, Jessica Elba has her Honest Company line. Jennifer Garner has her Once Upon a... We all have side hustles, because that's when you're an entertainer, you don't have a steady job, right? You don't have a steady job when you're an entertainer. It's because it's based on projects, it's based on gigs. So if you're in a band and you're relying on like a manager to try to get you gigs, you're hoping like maybe Las Vegas will call and you can play there, or you know what I'm saying? Or you're an actor, you're going to audition after audition and you're hoping like I just auditioned for a commercial last week, and yeah, I hope I get it. I'd be flying out of the country to shoot it. That would be super fun. I hope I get the role. We'll see. But that's the thing. It's you never, when you're in the entertainment business, you never know when you're gonna work again. You don't know, like, you don't know unless you're like working for a studio that has like a series running, like Dawson's Creek. I'm trying to think of a newer show. I haven't watched TV in so long. I guess I was thinking of Dawson's Creek because I just listened to the Jessica Simpson book and her song played on one of the episodes. So if you have that kind of a gig and you're one of the main characters, or you'll have a contract that says you're going to appear in 5 episodes on season 1, then you know, okay, I can feel where I'm going to be here. But stuff where it's like encapsulated, like Dhar Mann, they're each separate films and they're not interlocked, or they're not, you know, so you never know if you're gonna work 4 days in a month, 2 days in a month, or if you're not gonna work at all that month. So it's not, that's what I'm saying, it's not a job, it's a gig. Mommy, it's based on gigs. I know. We had a guest last night, huh? We were at a party last night. And Ryan was there. And Ryan, yeah, I don't know. I didn't bring him home. I drove home by myself because Rob wanted to stay at the party longer, and I was like, yeah, it's 9:30. I got a live stream in the morning. I'm going home. I was hoping to get to bed by 10 last night or 10:30. But nope, these kids kept me up, mostly Tim, he kept me up till 11:30 last night. I was getting very impatient with him. Your brother doesn't know how to get off the computer sometimes. It's tough. Okay, so is this, what is this, like, what are you getting out of what we're talking about for yourself? And how can you apply what we've talked about so far for yourself? Katie Rosie says, cute. Cookie donut. What are you getting out of this? That we're talking about having wealth. We're talking about having success. We're talking about your belief system. Do you have some beliefs that are keeping you? See, because the infinite, you know, God in the infinite is always pulling you towards more. He's pulling you towards abundance. He's pulling you towards success. And then we're stopping it. We're limiting it. We're telling God, I can't do it. I'm not able to do it. You know what I'm saying? So we have to stop making goals And I've been guilty of this. I've been guilty of this so many times. We have to stop making goals based on our ability and what we think we can do and what resources that we have. And we have to start thinking bigger. We have to have the bigger goals call us and pull us into that next place. We can't make goals based on where we're at now, because that's not allowing us to grow and stretch. Acme says, does success depend on everyone's motivation and mindset? Absolutely. Mindset for sure. Motivation, see, I don't think so, because I will work on my goals even if I'm not motivated. When you get to that place where your goals are calling you, you could be dog dead tired. You could be like in a negative mood. You could be, something bad could just happen. And when you have that level of commitment towards your goals and your future, you'll work on them even if you don't feel like it, even if you're not motivated. Until you guys master your feelings and until you guys master your emotions, it's going to be hard to get through the day, because somebody could say something negative to you. And then this was me like 10 years ago. Someone could say something mean and negative to me, and I'd be like laying on my couch crying for 3 days, all upset about what somebody said, letting my feelings get the best of me. Dhar Mann Lover says, how do you accomplish success? Well, that's what we're talking about. It's really about mindset. Cookie Donut, I'm doing great. So when we draw from a limited source, why draw from a limited source when you can draw from an unlimited source? So you may be a limited source saying, God, this is only the education I have. This is only how much I have. This is only the people I know. That's limited. What we have and do and who we know and our capabilities is limited. But when we pull God into the picture and we say, God, help me, show me the right people, show me the right support system, show me where to turn, where to go, who to talk to, that's an unlimited source. Bia says, when you put out prank videos, people will say you're making useless videos that aren't inspiring people. When you post inspirational videos, they will say you're doing it for the money. And that's the crazy thing. So you can make money putting out negative or pranks or stuff, or you can make money putting out positive, or you can make no money doing both. But whether there's money involved or not, I want to leave a legacy behind that's positive, that's empowering, that's inspiring people to go out and live their dreams and fulfill their dreams. Here's another thing that stops people. I'm just looking at my notes because I took a lot of notes to share with you. A lot of people say, I don't want to be rich, or I don't want to have wealth, because they have this limited mindset that if they're wealthy, that means they're taking from someone else, and that means they're going to make someone else poor. Do you know anyone who's ever thought that way, or have you ever thought that way? Like, if somebody's rich, that must mean they've taken from somebody else. I mean, have you ever thought that? Vias is saying, people will always find a reason to criticize you. Yes. Okay, so Queen of Growth says yes. And if you feel like, if you have that belief and that mindset that you being successful, that you being rich means somebody else isn't going to be, that's limited thinking. And it's not even the truth. So that's because there's things like, we see something in sports and there's a fight. Well, if somebody wins, then there must be a loser. Well, both boxers are successful, right? Both boxers usually are getting paid the same amount. Of course, it depends on their contract and stuff. They're both successful. They're the ones in the ring fighting in front of everyone. Sometimes it skews us when we look at sports. When we look at sports, we get skewed because we think, well, there's a first place, there's a second place, and then if I don't place, then I'm a loser. But you're out there running. You're out there doing it. Acme says, how does everybody's content affect other people based on their creativity and success? I'm not sure I understand the question. Hey, Jasmine. Dhar Mann Lover says, what everyone should know is a quote from Kobe Bryant, which I don't know if you've heard of him, but he said that to don't stop in the middle, stop at the end, because you need to succeed. All you need to succeed is yourself. Yes, exactly. So when people go, I only want my fair share, because I used to say things like, well, I only want enough for me. I only want, and I'm not trying to be greedy. And I got to really be thinking about that one day, and I realized it's actually more greedy and more selfish to only want enough for you and your family. Why is that? Because if you only have enough for you and your family, then you're not giving. You don't have, if you're like barely scraping by each month, then you cannot be a person that has enough to give to others in need. When you see a mom with her baby at the store and she's counting coupons and she's counting pennies and she might not have enough for formula, and you only have enough for you, you can't even help her. So if you're a spiritual being, how many of you guys believe that you're a spiritual being? That this isn't the end. Like this life in this earth suit, in this body, isn't the end. That you're going to keep going somewhere after. Or that you've come from a spiritual heavenly place and you were put in this body. Queen says, I believe that with all my heart. Then we should not be pulling from and taking from any other place than from the infinite, right? Than from the creator. Hi, Fun with Thanavi. Hope I said your name right. So here's the thing. When we're pulling from the infinite, we're not taking from anybody else. So, and at the same time, we don't have to be envious that other people have more than us. So people who are jealous or envious of people who have more than them have a limited belief, because they believe, a lot of times the reason they're so not happy for someone's success is because they feel that they can't have it, or that person's success is stopping them from having success. And that's a limited mindset. And that doesn't, it's disjointed, and it squelches things, because Gregory says the rich are inspirational, nothing to get jealous of. Fun with Fun, he says, I believe in God very much. It should be inspiring. You know, God inspired these rich and successful people, well, the ones that God inspired, the ones who are doing good, inspired them to do something, to, you know, use their creative gifts to make something, to create something, to build something that made them be successful, that made them have money. But you and I have that same power within us too, to build something, to create something, to invent something that could make us successful, that could make us have more. So we have to live in the oneness of God. When we're talking about, I don't have enough, I have lack, we're not going to make it, we don't have enough, you're putting a cap on yourself, and you're not allowing God in to fill those dry places, to water you, to give you what you need. We have to start looking at things like, even if you say, I don't know how I'm going to do it, I don't know who to reach it. God, you can do anything. Show me who to reach out to. Show me who to talk to. Show me what to do. Show me who to call. Show me what to research. Where can I find this? Pat says, I remember Shantae said she was inspired by the success of Laura and Dara in your interview when Laura bought a new jacket. She did. She did. I remember she came and was telling me about it. She's like, she was just able to go into a store and buy a jacket when she got cold. I want that for me. I want to live like that, you know? So that's the thing with anything. Like I say, there's two sides to any coin. You could look at that and be like so inspired, like I'm gonna become that successful. I'm gonna work that hard. I'm gonna make sure I have that ability. Or you can look at it and be like, oh, look at her. Oh, sure. She can go buy a jacket anytime she wants because, she has money. I don't have, must be nice to be, you know what I'm saying? People get like that. They're like, oh, well, and they feel like someone's success is cause of them not having success. And that's, first of all, that's not the way to look at it. Second of all, it makes you miserable, right? It makes you miserable if you're like that. Dhar Mann Lover says, what I was trying to say is that people that think that they can't do it, it's called a fixed mindset. If you can do it, you have a growth mindset. God wants you to believe in yourself to help you. Yes, sweetheart?
Yeah, he fell down.
Oh. Here you go. Ooh. Yeah, he's all better now. He's all better now. So, do you see that something that you guys have been doing or saying has been stopping you? Do you feel like there's something that you've been speaking about yourself or your situation that has been keeping you at a level where you feel like you can't or that you're not able? Because, if we're living in the oneness of God, if we're living in part of the source, if we're living in alignment with God, there's abundance. When you live outside of the source, you have lack. True wealth is being part of God. When we pull ourselves away from God, then we have lack in every area. So, and just, this isn't just about cash. This is about a wealth mindset, like Dhar Mann Lover said, a growth mindset. It's an abundance mindset of being, just having a liberal spirit of generosity, right? Someone just asked, did I leave Dhar Mann? No, I still work there. Donald said, I heard a radio host say that he was never hired for a job by a person of limited means. The rich hire people and inspire some to create their own success. That is so true. If for instance, a lot of you guys are talking about Dhar Mann on here, if he didn't become successful, he would not have had the means to hire thousands of actors to be on the show. If he had a limited mindset and thought, maybe my channel's not going to do, maybe we should just get, and believe me, he wanted to give up many times. You guys wouldn't know who any of us were if he did not have a growth mindset, if he gave up. Because early on, the videos wouldn't even get like 500 views. Like, it was a big celebration if one of their videos got 1,000 views. If he gave up or had a limited mindset when that was happening, none of us would be here right now, right? Rashida, do you think people can learn from Dhar Mann? I think people can learn from anyone. Sometimes we're learning from people what to do. Sometimes you can even learn from bad guys. You can learn what not to do. Puthina says, do you hate Dhar Mann? No, I don't hate anybody. I don't even hate the haters who hate me. There's no good thing about hate. And hate is the opposite of God. And if I'm a spiritual being, I can't hate anybody. No matter what they think, no matter what they believe, even if they hate me. I can't hate the haters. I can't hate those who hate me. It's not in my spiritual nature. Yara says, what is the most thing you hate about a person? I don't really use the word hate, really, but if I'm going to use the word hate, then I would say I hate those. I don't hate the people. I hate the acts. I do not like when people hurt children. That's a big one for me. I do not like when people. Rashida says, "How do you feel about people hating you?" Well, it's not fun. It's not the best feeling in the world, but I also realize I've got to do what's right for me, and I got to look in the mirror and be satisfied with who I am and the decisions I make. I have to be able to go to bed at night and not have the pain and worry and stress weighing on me that I didn't do what I feel was right, that I didn't stand up for the causes I believed in. I couldn't go to bed and sleep at night if I feel like I have hurt somebody, you know? And there's been times where I hurt somebody unintentionally, not meaning to, or they got offended by something, or they took it the wrong way. And it tore me up inside, you know? Times where I've been misunderstood or misquoted. Acme says, how do the people who are rich learn from mistakes in order to be successful in life? Do we need to acknowledge our mistakes and our failures? I think so. They help you learn and grow. Yeah, Pat, I heard that Ayana has been bullied a little. I got to work with her last week. So we have to learn from our mistakes. We have to, or we're not going to grow. And we can't put limits on what we can do, because if we believe in God, we're never alone. If He is with us, then we're capable of so much. And you know what, guys? God wants to get you what you need. We're blocking it. We're blocking it by saying, this person is because of him I don't have it. Because of this job I don't have it. Because of this gig isn't paying me enough, I don't have it. And God's like, hello, I'm here to give you what you need. Why don't you look to me? And if you're having trouble with finances or anything in life, look to me. I'm here to help you. Don't look to this person or this person, human on the ground. I'm here to give you what you need, and I can bring it from sources you don't even know. So, sometimes, here's the thing. Sometimes we tell God, I only want to receive it from this source. Like, you have a job in a factory and you say, God, I need help with my finances. And if you're saying to God, I only want it from my boss at the factory, I don't want it from anybody else, that's limiting, because God may be like, oh, well, I was going to have you find an envelope with $500, or I was going to have this person come up to you and give you $100, or this relative that you don't even know passed away, and you were going to be put in the will, and you were going to get some money unexpectedly. You know, that's happened to me before. I had someone pass away, and then I was surprised that they left me money. You don't know what source God wants to use to get you what you need. So when you put a limit on Him and say, no, it's only got to come from this source, and then you're mad at that source for not getting it to you, you're limiting yourself. You're putting limits on God. You're putting limits. So we have to be open. When we have lack, we have to be, God, okay, here's what I need. I'm open. Whatever source you want to send it to me from. Sometimes it's as simple. Sometimes it's your tires on your car were supposed to wear out 2 years ago, and God has kept them nice. He will make things last longer and not wear out, you know? Sometimes, like, this happens to me all the time. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, God, I don't want to spend a lot of money at the store. I want to make sure I have enough for this bill. I will go to the store, and all my favorite things on my list that I want to buy are on sale. To me I'm shooting a new course right now called Acting and Having Fun. The whole course is shot. I do want to make a bonus episode anyway, but I remember going, you know what? These hard drives are expensive. God, please, I want to save money. I want to make sure they're on sale. And I said, I know I've gone to Costco before, and these hard drives have been on sale, $30 off. So God, please make sure these hard drives are on sale when I get there, because I had to buy 2 of them. And when I got there, They were $40 off, and I got 2 of them. So I saved $80. It's like stuff like that. If I was busy being mean and bitter and angry and I don't have enough, sometimes your blessings get blocked. Your blessings get blocked when you're just in that negative state. So we don't want to do that. We want to be able to receive any way that God is willing to send us blessings, not just from our boss at the factory or whatever job that you have. We want to be able to receive blessings from anywhere. So we want to be open to that, because you don't know how God's going to open the windows of heaven for you. He's got a treasure chest up there. But if you're in your lack and limited beliefs and saying, this person owes me, then we can't reach our fullest potential. Bubble Pop says, I hope you are well. You are amazing. I love the vibes that you give off. Thank you. So let's see if I have any. God says that all things are possible for us, right? And so if we are lacking in any area, he says to put him first. Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God, and then all these things shall be added unto you. So if you're seeking God first, he's going to give you all of the things you need. I know Nana's on here. She could tell you about all different kinds of miracles where she felt like, I don't have enough, but God came through miraculously at last minute. Sometimes God is not early, right? Sometimes, good to see you, Mona. Sometimes we feel like God is late, but truly, he's always on time. Dhar Mann Lover says, more mistakes equals more success and more lessons. So we need to make the same mistakes, no mistakes. You can't learn and you can't succeed, and your life will not be. You have to learn from your lessons. Brittany says, it's important for people to know, though, sorry, these messages are going by fast. What we ask God for, we don't always get. And we don't always get it the way we need it, the way we've asked for it. And it's interesting. There's a scripture that says, sometimes we pray and ask, but we don't get it because we ask amiss. So sometimes we're asking for the wrong things, or sometimes it's just the wrong timing. And because there's also scriptures that tell us that before the prayer even leaves our lips, God is busy getting it to us. So there's a story in the Old Testament. Somebody prayed, and I forget which prophet. He prayed for something to happen, and then he needed that thing right away, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It didn't happen, and it came 3 weeks later, and then he was asking God about it, and God said, I sent you the answer to your prayer right away, but then there was a battle in the heavenly realm, right? The demons were fighting against it getting to you. So sometimes, you pray for something, but then you've got to pray, God, I want it in your timing, not my timing. I want it to come at the right time. And God, right now, I pray that we block, we cast out resistance, hindrance, and delay to us getting what we have asked for. So make sure you're praying against resistance, hindrance, and delay, because the devil and his demon hordes do not want you to get what is coming to you and what God is trying to send your way. Sometimes people forget about the battle the war waging between the angels and demons. So when we operate in God's abundance, we have what we need. And our focus should be on giving. It should not be on receiving, because if you are a giver, it comes back to you. It comes back to you. So what you put into the lives of others comes back into your own. It's the whole sowing and reaping. It's the karma.
Help. I'm touching this.
Okay.
And I need help.
Okay. Hold on. Here he goes. There you go. So what have you guys learned from this? What have you guys learned? Cynthia, I love how you always seem so happy. I choose to have joy. Even when stuff around me isn't going the way I want it to, I choose to have joy, because our state of being determines how our life is. You can be angry that something doesn't go your way, or you can still have joy knowing, even though this thing didn't go my way, what am I going to learn from this? What can I take away from this? And how can I do better next time, right? So if we want to be generous, like there was somebody early on when I said, why aren't you rich? And they said, because you gotta wait for it to charge. It's not gonna turn on right away because it's dead. You don't wait to be a giver. You give even when you have lack, right? Like the widow gave her last mite. We need to give out of our lack, and that's gonna come back to us. The more we give, the more we receive. So if, sometimes it's like, I remember one time I only had $20 and I was going to go get gas, but I felt the Spirit of the Lord telling me, go give this woman $20. And I'm like arguing with them. No, I'm not going to do that. Then I'm not going to be able to get gas. And then I'm like arguing with God. And finally, sometimes I don't obey right away. Finally, I gave this woman $20 and she was crying in tears. She's like, I didn't have money for formula for my baby and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I got home that day and I had a check in the mail for $100. So we have to give when we feel that inside us and not look at our lack, not look at, because if I didn't give and then because I was like, oh, I'm afraid I don't have enough. And then I got home and had the 100, I would have been like, oh, we have to be obedient. We have to be generous when we get that to do it, right? So if you're lacking anything in the material world, then you got to tap into the spiritual world. And you don't have to worry. For you to have enough, you don't have to worry about your abundance. If you become rich, successful, if you have so much, you can give more and lavish it on others. You never have to worry about your abundance taking anything away from anyone else. Elijah, your abundance, when God blesses you abundantly, it doesn't take anything away from anyone else. So for those of you who came on today and you said, I don't want to be rich because I don't want to be greedy, then be a giver and help more people, and just that's what you're meant for. If we're created in God's image, like the book of Genesis says, and he's walking on streets of gold, and he's got gates of pearl, and his footstone is made of jasper, right, jewels, then he doesn't mind if you have it. And there's been this false belief that people have perpetrated that you have to take a vow of poverty, that you have to be poor to be godly, and that is a lie. I wrote about this in a poem called God is the Biggest Sinner of All. Because those of you who think you have to be, if you're rich, you're a sinner, then, like I said, God's the biggest sinner of all because he's the richest person that ever lived. So you can have it. You can have whatever you need and want and more to help others. I hope this inspired you. I hope you're going to start thinking differently. I hope when you have lack, you're going to call out to God and be open to having it come from any way possible. All right. Nicholas says, do you support good works? I think they're going to make some amazing content. I hope their channel is super successful. I want that for them. All right.